Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Global Campfire of Coaching. This is a global and ongoing conversation where we support each other, where we come together at the end of a sometimes emotional day, sometimes harrowing day, sometimes intense day, sometimes really boring day. But we come together and we exchange stories, we exchange opinions, we exchange best practices of how coaches are rising above in these current situations and how they are inspiring and supporting their communities. And for that, I have a wonderful guest today. Her name is Doaa. And Doaa is a member of the Forbes Coaches Council. Doaa is also the CEO of something called Trainer's Box. And we're going to check in with her a little more on what that is exactly. But Trainer's Box is something that can support you as a coach, as a trainer, as a facilitator, as somebody who is helping other people. It can support you in fulfilling your mission more effectively, in spending less time creating your materials and getting out there and getting your message out to the people. And I remember reading in her LinkedIn profile that to her, trainers and the people that the trainers impact, they are heroes. Welcome, Doa. Glad to have you.
Hi, Fabian. How are you?
I'm
Thank you
doing
for the
well,
wonderful introduction.
doing my best.
And actually, yes, I do have this passion for coaches and trainers because I've been there. I'm still there, and I can imagine the kind of challenges they face. They always have to put other people in better spirits. They always have to encourage and motivate their audience and keep them, inspired. And they would be going through difficult times or, testing times, and they would still have to do their thing. And that's exactly what makes them heroes.
Wonderful. Yeah, so I would be curious to hear a little bit about your story, about how you are fulfilling that mission of supporting those heroes and how that has maybe changed over the last couple of weeks as everything, all our routines have been upended. So take us a little bit on the journey of what was life like in January and how has it changed over the last few weeks, and how are you supporting, how are you showing up right now, what does your day look like?
You'll be surprised, Fabian. It's not that different. I had the Corona crisis. I had this crisis like 7 years ago
Huh.
when I left my company and jumped on my online business. But it was worse because it was me alone. It wasn't like the world going through the same experience as I'm going through. So I've been there. Working from home is not new. I do have my office where we have our meetings and everything. But working at home is not new for me, and jumping online is not new. Actually, it's become my comfort zone. And how my life changed from January to now, because like January, I did not have the awareness about that there was about to be a world crisis coming up, right? I was more relaxed in terms of, offering services, trying to help coaches. I did not have something pushing me and waking me up all night. So after the crisis, because I do have connections from all over the world, and I can actually listen to them saying literally the same things if they're in the States, if they're in UK, if they're in Germany, if they're in Spain, if they're in Singapore, if they're in India. And that gives me a sense of duty that I need to do something. Here's the time when I need to stand up for these guys and I need to help them, because some of them are so into the situation that they are almost stuck,
Hmm.
and some of them are really talented. Some of them would offer you incredible services at this time, and they're frozen. And the best way I thought I can help myself and help them is to get real busy with helping them and myself. So now it's more intense, more meetings, at least like 4 or 5 meetings a day live, more intensity of posting videos on LinkedIn, like videos that keep people, you know, on the right track. Ideas, I have all sorts of ideas, write them down and schedule my videos. More messages, more articles to make them more aware of what needs to be done, and more webinars and more action and more events to bring them on, because we can't lose the coaches, because these guys are the guys who are going to help other people who know way less. So you can't lose the coaches. They can't lose their heads at this time. So that's how it's developing here for me.
Yeah. It is a recurring pattern that we find that as a coach, you have a lot of insight into how people work, into how your brain works, how you can support yourself to be your best self. But when it comes to your own person, all of a sudden that knowledge, you might not be able to leverage it quite as much, right?
Yep,
Just because
yep.
you might be able to coach other people through the worst crisis, but you know, I don't know, silly example, but your milk burns at home and all of a sudden you're in a downward spiral, right? And you're not able to get yourself out of it despite all that knowledge. And I really appreciate having this kind of layer of second level support, if you will, that you're providing. And I'm curious, help us understand a little more maybe what's the biggest challenges that you hear from coaches? What is something that you're helping them address right now?
The thing is that, as you just said, they would be helping so many people, and then when they are in the situation, when it gets to threatening their lives or their beloved ones' health or their kids' lives, or some of them just freeze. And it's not that they're overreacting, it's that it's their ability of not to be in the situation, consciously to choose not to be in the situation, or to ignore the fear factor, not to magnify it for themselves. The big thing I can hear from people is definitely they are worried on their safety in terms of their well-being and health. Every time I speak to a coach, every day I speak to coaches, they would start off the conversation by telling me some statistics about what's going on in their country, and that all of the precautions they're taking, or whether they're going to go for the groceries now too quickly. We're all sort of back to our primitive needs, and that's first and foremost. And then on level 2, people who have that sorted, they would start worrying intensely about their businesses, especially coaches who never went online before, especially the experienced ones. So they're worried. They don't know whether they'll be able to make it. They don't know how they will be able to make it, and the amount of money that's going to be invested in this, whether it's going to work. Some of them are even stuck in the space where, should I actually go after change, or if I just wait a little bit, everything's going to go back to normal? Some of them are even stuck in that area. So that's the two basic things I can sense out of speaking to coaches. Number one, their survival, basically, their physical survival and well-being. And number two is the survival of their businesses.
Hopefully, just speaking from an optimistic point of view, there is more of a need than ever for coaching, and there is a lot of value that coaches can bring to society right now. The question is, how do we operationalize that? How to support those coaches in getting their services out there? What is something that you've come up with so far, and how to do that?
Just reminding them. Coaches, they know much. They just need somebody to remind them, like, this is the role now. And maybe give them some clues, or some information, some guidelines on technical stuff that they want to learn now. So yeah, I totally agree with you. It's the coaches. The coaches will be nothing less than what the healthcare people are doing, because these guys keep the infected people healthy as much as possible, and the coaches will work on the mental health of people. So that's nothing less. In that sense, you don't want people to come out of the crisis being crippled in all sorts of ways. You want to help them too. So we need to help each other as coaches and help ourselves, and then in the same sense be able to help our audiences. And for me, I can never stand by myself. I always have a support system. I have people who coach me. I have people who I go back to who are connections and coaches who are very experienced in their fields. I have family. I have a support system. Everybody needs their own support system. But by the end of the day, we need to connect with each other, to remind each other about the times that we're in. This is a testing time. This is a trying time to see who will stand up and who will show up. And if you're a coach, you coach people on that. So you need to practice what you preach.
Yeah, for sure. And I was actually going to ask what you're doing in terms of self-care. And now I already heard two things. You said you're keeping really busy because that helps you. And also, you're relying on your support system. You're getting coaching yourself. You're checking in with friends and family. The keeping busy part, what does that do for you? What does that give you?
It keeps me busy away from fear. It keeps me busy with production and busy with taking care of very primitive stuff, such as myself, my family, my kids, cooking, stacking with minimal level, doing as much as possible sports at home, keeping my family busy, primitive stuff such as decorating and or redesigning space in the house to make it a bigger space now, talking with people who are real professionals on the professional level, talking with people who are real professionals, because you will get the best ideas now, Fabian, from people who really know what they're doing. And you will get the best speeches ever when you talk to these people. So I think we are blessed to be in this industry because we know some keys on how to maintain our mental health. And if we're lost, we have people to help us. They're our connections. They're our first connections. So this is basically what I'm doing. Primitive stuff, having like a deep look into like my relationship with my kids, my relationship with my husband, my relationship with the house. Am I taking care of everything so well and everyone so well? Myself, even like using more products for skincare and so on, because we use a lot of, stuff to keep our hands and stuff clean. I'm loving all of these little things. And on the other side, all of the very advanced communications, technical stuff that I'm doing with all of the people I'm working with also.
Once this kind of hopefully returns to a state where we can go out, enjoy each other's presence physically, be with people in the same room, once we get to that stage again, what do you think you might be doing differently from before the crisis?
Quite honestly, Fabian, I don't want to get to that stage again. I don't want us to go to the old normalcy. So I don't want to be going through a crisis like this and then coming out of the crisis to where I exactly started before the crisis. Don't get me wrong. I'm not in a rush to rush this experience in my head. Like, I want to get everything and grow in every possible way, every good possible way, to make the best out of this crisis in terms of understanding the deep dynamics of life and deep lessons about life, and to become a better person and to have a ripple effect of this with all of the people I communicate and engage with. So I'm not rushing it. I'm actually right now not even thinking about what's going to happen after the crisis. I'm living day by day, and I'm getting myself obsessed with what is happening to me today and how will I make the best of that day, not just letting one day of crisis go without making the best out of it.
Yeah.
So answering your questions, I can't imagine how I'm going to be after the crisis. I can't even imagine what does after the crisis means, because it's an unknown.
Yeah. And maybe that is already something that is different from before, right? There's living in the moment and not taking certain things for granted anymore. Is what I also hear. Yeah.
Yeah. And holding into very little things that you took for granted before and appreciating them.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Do tell us a little more about how people can get in touch with you and how they might reach out to you to benefit from what it is that you put out in the world.
Oh, I'd be so happy if anybody reached out for me. I'm there on LinkedIn, or they're just sending me an email, and I'll be so happy to reach out for you and connect with you. And I usually respond to emails like within 24 to 48 hours. If you send me a message on LinkedIn, it's going to be like usually within 24 hours. Absolutely welcome. Everybody, I actually wait for people to connect with me to see what I can learn from them, because everybody has his own story. Everybody has his own experience. He or she will give you something to learn.
For sure. That's exactly why I'm doing the podcast, honestly, because it gives me
Yeah.
an excuse to talk to amazing people and to learn from them and to share that then with the wider world. So, yeah.
Likewise.
Tell us something about these virtual tea parties that you do.
So because like I usually send as a part of the support system I'm offering to all my connections, I usually like post articles. I repost articles or like write reviews about articles or summaries about articles. And as I was reading one of the articles, I saw that some people who are isolated by themselves will be very much vulnerable to depression. And then I thought, oh my gosh, I would know like a number of people who would be sitting by themselves right now, a number of coaches. And I thought, then what's the solution? I researched more, and then I realized that having tea parties is one of the solutions. And I thought, okay, then I'm going to do that. And I actually wanted to do something on a daily basis, but I thought, let me just do it first on a weekly basis and see how people react to that. If they like that, maybe I'm going to make it more often to keep them busy and to keep them, interested and to keep them connected. So it's basically all talking about the mental health and keeping people mentally healthy and busy by connecting with other people and so on.
Yeah. There's so
Yeah.
much in there. So sometimes it feels like it's a difficult situation. I can't let myself have a tea party right now. That kind of sounds silly. What am I doing? The world is going to hell in a handbasket and I'm having a tea party. But that's exactly the reframe. It's this taking care of these connections. If I read correctly, people bring special dishes that are common in their area.
That was very
Yeah,
nice.
you
Yeah,
you
yeah,
read,
yeah, so
you
true.
learn something like, oh wow, this is a dessert I've never heard of, and it's just these little things that give you these moments of joy that carry you through the day and that just give you this feeling of it's great to be alive, honestly, fundamentally.
If I tell you about my experience, like for the 2 hours before the tea party, Fabian, it was like the power of focus, and it was me disconnect from everything that was going on Earth, and having this like sort of classical tea party music, and going and preparing my sort of gourmet, if possible, snack, which was very simple, and thinking of a new kind of tea that I want to share with people the recipe with, and this, and like thinking of what am I going to get dressed in, and all of this just took me away 100%. Like for 2 hours my mind was COVID free, 100%, I can tell you. And I was thinking, oh gosh, people must be thinking about what they need to wear or like get dressed in for the party. and and to tell you the truth, once we connected there, we were speaking like we speak now. I mean, when you start talking, it's going to be relevant to the crisis in one way or another, in a positive way. But it's still called a tea party. It's still called a gathering. It's still called being busy and like simulating the atmosphere of going out and being invited and dressing nicely and listening to music. And that felt so good. Really, I felt I was on cloud nine, and it was really very special. I thought I'm going to do this again next week, and I'm thinking how to share the music with people to get them. Actually, I was thinking of sending links with the music to the people who are coming, to put them in the right mood as well.
Mhm. So,
Yeah.
how can people find that? How can people get invited? How can they secure an invite to these fancy tea parties?
Well, I can just send you a link where people can opt in with all of the information about the party. I do send public invitations on LinkedIn to anybody where anybody can see them. Send to me an email, send to me a message on LinkedIn. I'm going to send you the invitation. And right now, this is an invitation. It's every Saturday from 8:30 to 9:30 Pacific. And just send to me a message, and I'm going to send you the Zoom link so that you can go to the party.
All right. And
Yeah.
time flies. What's the message that you want to leave listeners with as we start wrapping up here?
I want to assure everybody who's listening that all of this, all of what's happening right now is for a meaning. And although some people will not be focused on the good part of what's happening, because there are some things which are really hurtful, there are people who are being affected and hurt. So even that, even that will in a way come about and turn about in the future in a way that people will still think of these days as a time which humanity needed to evolve, in a good way. And I thought of sharing these lines with you. It's like some lines that I ran into by T.S. Eliot. It's from The Wasteland.
Mhm.
And if you allow me, Fabian, I'm going to just
Absolutely.
read them. So I'm reading these lines because I realized the value of stillness that we sometimes lose in the middle of all of the action that we're in. And sometimes the world comes with a crisis like this to teach us one meaning that we need as human beings. He says, the endless cycle of idea and action, endless invention, endless experiment, brings knowledge of motion, but not of stillness, knowledge of speech, but not of silence, knowledge of words, and ignorance of the word. All our knowledge brings us nearer to our ignorance. Where is the life we have lost in living? Where is the wisdom we have lost in knowledge? Where is the knowledge we have lost in information? The cycles of heaven in 20 centuries bring us farther from God and nearer to the dust. So I just read these lines and I thought, yeah, these would be perfect to share with you.
Yeah.
It's from The Wasteland.
It
Yeah. He
sounds
wrote them
eerily
years
topical.
and years ago. Eliot knew this years ago,
Mm,
tens of years ago. So yeah.
yeah.
So it's going to bring to us, if it brings to us the wisdom alone, then that would still be a blessing.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure and an honor to spend this time with you. We're
You.
going to put all the links to your LinkedIn, to your website, to the Tea Party. We're going to put that in the show notes so people can find it, people can reach out, and hope to connect with you very soon again.
Thank you so much, Fabian. Thank you so much for this wonderful, interview. It's a pleasure and an honor to be interviewed by you. And you yourself are such a person who is acting in hard times. And I know your circumstances and how busy you are right now. And kudos for you. And thanks for your wonderful, wonderful job. Keep it up, man.
Thank you so much. Talk to you soon.
Thank you so much. Bye bye.